What's going on, guys? This is Tony with Urban Girl Scout Media, living the dream as always and coming to you today to talk a little basketball. So we are just about 30 minutes removed from the first statement about Doc Rivers and his tenure with the LA Clippers coming to an end. And that's what today is going to be about. You know, I could talk about the Miami Heat and the LA Lakers making the finals, and I could preview my thoughts there. I could talk about what this postseason run meant for the Celtics, what it meant for the Nuggets, who both came up just short. But I'm actually going to talk about the Clippers. So Doc Rivers, long-time coach of the Clippers, I think 7 or 8 years if I'm not mistaken, was let go, or decided to part ways. Whatever you want to look at, I think Steve Ballmer likely told him, "Hey, you're out." And well, if you think of what the Clippers roster is constructed of and how it came to be, let's talk about this for a second. So last season, this pretty much the same roster, I think, with Danilo Gallinari instead of Paul George, basically. So two lesser players, I think, Gilchrist Alexander and Gallinari, were traded for Paul George, but that's the main difference. No Kawhi Leonard and no Paul George. That team took the Golden State Warriors to a very competitive first-round series that put a lot of people on notice that the Warriors are not unbeatable. They really weren't. Of course, they fell apart in the finals due to injuries, but this Clippers team, which was ran by Doc Rivers, or coached by him, they did that. He did that. Remember, this is also the same Doc Rivers who won a championship with the Boston Celtics. Doc Rivers is no scrub when it comes to coaching. Who did he go and get this year? Or not him, but who did Steve Ballmer go and get this year? Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Playoff Paul, who, have we seen him actually be a successful player in the playoffs? Or is it just the occasional game that he has some good moments and we give him too much for it? Well, Paul George was actually the guy that Kawhi Leonard, who came there as a free agent, said he wanted them to go trade for. So they did that. So Doc Rivers didn't necessarily make that decision. Doc Rivers didn't play a single minute on the floor this season. And he can only coach who dresses each night. When you have guys like Kawhi Leonard who believe in load management but don't believe in building chemistry, and you have guys like Paul George who believe in this nickname but don't actually do anything to deserve it, yeah, it's kind of hard for him to win. I think this was a very, very big mistake by the Clippers organization. If for no other reason, who else is out there, even if they're coaching right now, who do you really think you could convince to come and coach your team? So I'm curious to see what Steve Ballmer does, because the NBA has always fascinated me in this regard. It's a players' league, and everyone talks about how you have to have the right players, but when it doesn't work, they blame the coaches. That is always who gets the blame. When it doesn't work, we fire the coach. The other thing to think about is how many great teams, and I'm talking about established and known that they are championship or bust level teams, have replaced a top tier coach and then gotten better the following season. Let's start with 0. The Golden State Warriors were ascending to be something special, but at the time when they were when Mark Jackson was replaced by Steve Kerr as the head coach, nobody knew that was there. Nobody knew that was there. So I don't like this term. I don't like this decision. And I think that if Steve Ballmer allowed this to happen or pushed for it to happen, basically if Steve Ballmer's in any way, shape, or form responsible for this, shame on him. Because he put just as much pressure on this organization as anyone else. He made it known that he wanted to win a championship, and he went out and bought the players. He didn't build this team. Also, let's not forget that Doc Rivers saw this team through the Donald Sterling situation. He has taken the Clippers franchise from being a laughingstock to a perennial powerhouse. And he survived the Lob City days of Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. All while doing it in LA. So I'm a little disappointed. I think that there is a lot of misunderstandings about what it takes to win in the NBA. You need a good coach. And Doc Rivers was a damn good coach. This decision made was absolutely a mistake. And we'll see what happens. But I don't understand what the Clippers are thinking. There isn't a ton of better coaches out there than Doc Rivers to begin with. And then you're talking about what coaches are actually available. Like, who's going to actually come out there knowing that Kawhi Leonard is on load management, knowing that your team basically for the next 8 years, the Clippers have no first-round picks. They're going to be strapped financially for a good portion of that time, no matter what they do. They're going to have to trade pieces and try and build from scratch. And if Doc Rivers, longtime coach, can't do it with two superstars and a core that he helped build, what makes you think a brand new coach, not familiar with any of these players, can do that? That's just my take. The Clippers have always kind of had this little brother issue where they're always feeling like they have to prove that they're not the Lakers' little brother. Well, then get your own stadium. Steve Ballmer could have done that without putting all the pressure of them winning a championship starting out. It also doesn't help when your two superstar players act like they're too cool for the regular season. And it's really sad. It's a sad day for logical decision making in the NBA. I've seen some real stupid firings. I thought Nate McMillan was pretty stupid. But this one, like, I've seen some stupid hirings. Jim Boylan, Chicago Bulls, terrible. But this is going to go down as one of those huge moments for Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and all these guys. Like, the Clippers franchise could absolutely be screwed. And if whoever comes in doesn't mesh with Kawhi and Paul, those guys can bounce. Kawhi Leonard's on a 1-year contract at this point. He is his own market. He will determine it. So, good luck to the Clippers. You're watching the Lakers in the finals not because Doc Rivers couldn't lead the team there, but because the team didn't want to get led there. Doc Rivers is not stupid. He understands that it's a players' league. Do you think that Doc Rivers was okay with Kawhi Leonard sitting out so much? Do you think that Doc Rivers was okay with Lou Williams going to a strip club during the pandemic? Do you think that Doc Rivers wanted Paul George? And my guess is that Doc Rivers probably had a little bit different insights, but in order to get Kawhi Leonard, they had to go obtain Paul George, per Kawhi Leonard. So there you go. Doc Rivers, if the Bulls didn't already have a head coach, I would be fighting for you to come to Chicago. Completely bullshit firing, let go, term, whatever the hell the words that they want to use. I really felt like Doc Rivers deserved better. What do you guys think? Do you think you could coach in the NBA? Because, the way that the NBA is, as long as you're willing to take the blame, shit, I'll be a coach for the money they make. Anyways, time will tell. We have the finals starting here in a couple days. I'm going with Miami in 6, no doubt about it. And we'll see what happens from there. But, Doc Rivers, good coach. We'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much for listening, guys.